Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're going to be taking a look at a really weird new deck. Like a really weird new deck. It is a deck that I did not expect to see any success at all. But Kricketune is actually going and winning. Shout out to the lovely Talonite X over on Twitter, who has been tagging me in a bunch of stuff lately, which has been very much of interest and in my wheelhouse. And as I've said on many, many occasions, and will hopefully say on many, many more, I am always extremely grateful to anyone that ever does anything to help or make my life easier. Thank you very much. You guys rock. And for those in the back, yes, I know Japan has a different format to us, but the main parts of this deck will work beautifully, and it's not a huge problem, and what we're losing really isn't a big deal. There we go. So, Kricketune then. Really? Yeah. Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely. Now, this is a very, very weird card, because what it essentially does is different depending on how many cards you've actually got in your hand. So it starts off for a single grass energy doing 30 damage, and that's fine. But if you've got exactly one card in hand, you do 130. For a single energy on a stage 1, that's really good. If you've got 3 cards in hand, you do 30 damage plus confusion, which is alright. It's not as good. Unless your opponent keeps flipping tails, of course. And if you've got exactly 6 cards in hand, you do 30 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Now, we don't have really good spreading around options at the moment, but even when we did, it was kind of Tapu Koko, who did 20 to everything. Or it was Latios that did 30 to the active and 30 to one of the bench. Doing 30 to everything, yes, that's actually incredibly good. We're a fan of this. So, there's a little bit of potential here, but we need to actually get it rolling. And what are we actually doing? And the reality is, it's going to change. Sometimes you just need to buy a turn, so what you do is the 30 damage plus confusion. Sometimes you just need to do a fair bit of damage to KO, or you're hitting for weakness, and in that situation, great news, you've got the extra damage. And sometimes, I would argue probably most often, what you really want to do is just be spreading damage around and taking everything out at once. And to that end, one of the other kind of big things we've got going on here is Wheezing. Wheezing and Roxy. Let me explain. So Roxy is a supporter card that's coming in Ultra Genesis, and it allows you to discard up to 2 Pokemon from your hand, drawing 3 cards for each one you discard. Wheezing, if you discard it using the effect of Roxy, you do 1 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. It's very nice. Now, coughing also does that. Generally speaking, unless you're playing more than 4 Wheezing, what you really want to do is focus on the Wheezing, because you cannot start with Wheezing, you can start with coughing, so as a general rule, you want to be focusing on the Wheezing. Now, this deck does play 1 coughing, but really, yes, obviously you're playing a cool one with the ability, but more than that, you want the option of evolving up into the Wheezing from Unbroken Bonds, that has an ability whereby if it's active, you get to put 1 damage counter on each of your opponent's basic Pokemon between turns. So now you're spreading with Kricketune, and you're spreading using Roxy, and you're spreading using this Wheezing, and all of this damage, frankly, is going to add up pretty gosh darned quickly. And honestly, they are the main parts of the deck. Now, there is a Taboo Lele GX, which is nice for consistency, but that can be pretty much replaced by a Dedenne GX, so I'm not particularly worried about that. But there is actually a Taboo Lele that we are allowed to play, and this particular Taboo Lele rocks up and allows you for 2 energy to swap around all of the damage on your opponent's Pokemon. Yeah, it's that one. And the good news is that because it came out in Ultra Prism, it is still totally legal in our format at the moment. So we're good. You are also losing Oricorio, which is, it's alright, but I'm not a huge fan of it in this deck if I'm honest. 1 colourless energy for each Pokemon in your opponent's discard pile. Put 1 damage counter on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. Against some decks it will be amazing, but given that the format is primarily big GX decks that don't play that many Pokemon, I don't think it's a huge loss. Slightly annoying, but I'm not worried about it. Once again, I am only showing you decks here that are going to work, or at least that I believe are going to work, in our format. Now, there are a couple of others. There is a Sawsbuck. I really like the Sawsbuck. Sawsbuck just lets you draw 1 card. It's got an ability, once during your turn, draw a card. It's not particularly flashy, but it is a very nice card, and it's really helpful, and it's grass, and you're playing a lot of grass, so, yeah. Go for it. Why not, ladies and gentlemen? Why not? And then, weirdly, there is a 1/1 line of Grovyle. No, we're not actually playing any Sceptile here. We are just playing a 1/1 line of Grovyle. And the reason is, you've got Sunshine Grace. And Sunshine Grace allows you, once during your turn, to search for a grass Pokemon and put it into your hand. Incidentally here, I think there is a strong argument to play one of the Sceptile from Celestial Storm just as a one-off tech here, because it makes your Pokemon with grass energy immune to Ultra Beasts. So, yeah. I think there is a decent argument for actually chucking one of them in. I would, personally. That's what I'd do. And that's the line. It's largely a Kricketune deck, but you got Sawsbuck for a bit of draw power, Grovyle for a bit of consistency, and all the wheezing tricks as well as Taboo Lele. It's a lot of fun. In terms of energy, obviously we're largely focusing on grass energy. That should be a given. We do play a couple of fairy energy here to help us to actually pay the energy cost of Taboo Lele. And then there is a rainbow energy in there as well. Means you can use a wheezing attack if you're desperate. And it's kind of an extra grass and an extra psychic all at the same time. It's kind of fun. Now, in terms of trainer cards, all you're really losing here is the same things that everyone else is losing. You're losing Nest Ball and Ultra Ball, but as I'm going to say in a minute, it's not a problem. We've got plenty of searching options. We're losing Guzma, but if you're worried about gusting, play Great Catcher. It's coming out in Cosmic Eclipse. It's great. And we're losing Rescue Stretcher, but Rescue Stretcher really shouldn't be a huge deal. It's just a little bit of Pokemon recovery. Everyone's losing it. It's not that bad. Maybe play a single Brock's Grit if you're desperate. Now, I said about Pokemon Search, and I told you I'm not worried, and the reason is we're playing a grass/psychic deck, with the sole exception of Taboo Lele. Well, you can play Netball, which not only searches out your basic grass Pokemon, but it also searches out your basic grass energy, which means if you played Netball, you could probably cut 1 or 2 grass energy from the deck without really noticing that you lost them. We've also got Mysterious Treasure, which will search out our psychic Pokemon. And let's not forget we've also got Grovyle, so this deck is a really good candidate for Pokemon communication, because you can search out a basic grass with Netball or any grass with Grovyle or whatever, and then immediately switch them using a bit of the old Pokemon communication. So I really don't think Pokemon Search is a huge issue here at all. And like I've said, you swap Guzma for Great Catcher, you're really not missing much at all in this deck. You really aren't. Like I say, take out Tapu Lele for Dedenne, take out Ultra Ball and Nest Ball for Netball and Pokemon Communication, Guzma for Great Catcher, boom, job's a good one, you're rolling. Now, in terms of other cards, there really isn't very much, just a few supporter cards. We're playing Cynthia and Lily because they are the best draw cards we've got, although a quick side note, Cynthia, you shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 6 cards. Lily you draw until you've got 6 cards in hand. And what both of them have in common is you guaranteed to have 6 cards in hand, which means as long as you've already got Kricketune, the energy, and you've got it in the active, you are guaranteed to have 6 cards in hand and do the spreading attack. It's why those supporter cards are quite so useful. And then obviously you've got to play Roxy. And then you've got Red's challenge. Discard 2 cards from your hand, search for any card. It's just really nice for consistency here. It will get you literally anything you want, and you're playing a bunch of stage 1s in here, and you're playing some different energy, so it's quite nice to just have that nuclear option. I'm not quite sure how desperate we are for Red Search here, and I think it could be swapped out for another Cynthia and another Lily, and I don't think you'd lose a huge amount. Just get that consistency rolling. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, a very fun deck. One that I did not expect to be good, but it's gone and won a tournament over in Japan, so I figured I should probably show you. But at this stage, I would like to know what you think about this, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.